The Chicago Bears have had 7 training camp practices and are 1 week away from a joint practice with the Miami Dolphins. There have been ups, there have been downs, but we have found 6 hot topics from camp to dive into. I am Justin Onayemi, here with Bob Weiss, and this is the Halas Huddle.
We love hearing from you. We love hearing what you think, so make sure you comment on this video and be subscribed. We're kicking off our quest to 1,500 subscribers promotion starting now. Details to come later in the video, but make sure you comment below now.
All right, so Bob, we're going to do this kind of news or noise style, but the first thing that really popped for me involves pre-snap progress. That's been something Ben Johnson has been talking about all the way from when he accepted the job. Here we are now in training camp. And, you know, some of it is what he talked about in his press conference, as well as what Caleb Williams has been saying. So my question to you, news or noise, those indications from Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams that progress is happening in pre-snap procedures is a guarantee of notable progress in Caleb's play in the 2025 season.
So I'm going to be very clear about this. This is noise to me, okay? It's great that there's progress being made on pre-snap procedures. I love that right before training camp kicked off, Ben Johnson said he wanted to use the pre-snap, getting in and out of the huddle as a weapon for the offense. That's awesome that Caleb and the offense had some struggles. They had to pull him off the field early on to now that looks smoother. Great. Good for you. We need production post-snap. Pre-snap looking smooth, whatever. But if it doesn't lead to production post-snap, then what does it matter, right? So it's great that it's here. It's great that we're seeing some progress. But I'm not going to start doing, dances and jumping for joy that the offense has arrived or anything like that, that Caleb's definitely going to break out until we start seeing some production. So is this a guarantee of success this season? Because he's got pre-snap progression after a week of practice. He's going to definitely throw for 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, all that stuff. No, it is not. Let's see some real consistent production against this defense in camp, and then let's talk.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say anything with the word guarantee in there, but I'm going to say it's news in the sense that, as you stated, Ben Johnson puts so much detail and an emphasis on this that he actually considers it a weapon in how you can attack a defense, whether that's with pace, whether that's with having extra time, even with maybe even in the ear set with what Williams has seen. But it's hard to have the post-snap success if you can't even get the pre. And so I'll say it's news from that standpoint, but I'm glad this is news on day 7 and not something we're hearing about in day 12, 13, 14. This should be grounded down now, and it leads to the success that's coming. So I'll go news, though.
Progress is good. Progress is great.
Details matter.
Some of this post-snap issues could be they're just going against a really, really good defense. All reports coming out of camp are that the Bears defense is way ahead of the offense, and we expect this offense to take a jump. So that must mean this Bears defense is awesome. So news or noise, this Bears defense will be a top 10 unit in the NFL this year.
I'm going to go noise. And I guess I'm saying it's noise for that being the reason. They may end up being the top 10 defense. I hope they do. But at this point, even Dennis Allen in his press conference was kind of asked, like, what's it like going against Ben Johnson? And he's like, that's not really my focus. My focus is on making this unit that I'm coaching the best that they're going to be. And it's not about the chess match between him and Ben Johnson. Now, obviously, in game prep week, you hope it's that. And Dennis Allen has lots of experience. So like I said, I think the sky is the limit with this defense. But just because they're having success against Johnson, who's installing a new offense himself, a new system himself, that does not indicate much, if you ask me.
So I'm going to go some news here, actually. I mean, we see this storyline every single year in training camp with the defense being way ahead of the offense, right? So from that perspective, is the offense just terrible, and that's why the defense is ahead, or is the defense actually good? These players aren't that much different than the couple Matt Eberflus defenses we've just had, plus some extra depth on the interior defensive line. And we still have a skilled defensive coordinator coming in. And, for the first 6, 8, 9 games of last season, we were talking about this being a near elite defense, and it's those same players. So I expect that same type of level of production, even with a different defensive coordinator coming in. So is this also me validating the offense's struggles because they're going up at top 10 defense? No. If you're going to be a playoff team, you have to be able to produce against a top 10 defense, and they're not doing that yet. I will stress yet, despite what I said in the last point that we made, it still is a yet. I'm just not going to say they're definitely going to get there until we see it, but this offense needs to get there against this defense, and this defense absolutely has top 10 potential. You look at, there's just solid starters up and down this roster. Montez Sweat, Grady Jarrett, those are solid starters in the NFL. We hope that Javon Dexter is going to be a good starter in the NFL, right? You look at those linebackers, solid starters. You look at the safeties, solid starters. Maybe Jaquan Brisker is even a weapon. And then Kyler Gordon looks like he will be used as a weapon. And that's really excited if Kyler Gordon could be the best player on your defense to go with returning Jaylon Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Brisker at the end there, and I think when they looked like a top defense last year, he was a big part of that. He goes out with an injury, things kind of collapsed. Going to the offensive side of the ball, there's a key injury that we've been monitoring, and that is Braxton Jones. Now, the good news is he has been back in camp. He's starting to ramp up to the point that he's taking place, I guess equally in what's becoming a left tackle battle. So the question I have for you, Bob, news or noise? Determining the starter at left tackle soon is vital so that the starting five can begin to get reps as a cohesive unit.
So I'm going to say news on this one. And it is based more on the fact that to this point, it seems like none of these three players have really separated themselves. So it sounds kind of weird to say make a soon decision when no one separated themselves. But I think my stance is pretty clear that I think the best case for this team is Braxton Jones being the starter. So you're this far into camp, maybe a couple more padded practices. If nobody is standing head and shoulders above anybody else, then you just go what's going to be the best for the franchise, which is Braxton Jones just being your left tackle. Let him have a good, productive year. Go off, sign a monster free agent deal, get that comp pick coming back, and then you can have another battle next year between Ozzie and Karan. But making that decision now allows Ozzie and Karan to settle into their roles that they will have. Maybe some of them need some exposure at guard. Maybe some of them need to learn right so they can be a full swing. And then it gives your top five some more time to gel. So again, it's just because there hasn't really been a standout. So just go to your default starter.
All right, well, I'm going to go noise, and I'm going to go noise for now. And here's my thing. We talk about offensive line. The best time to see what they have is when pads go on. There have only been 2 padded practices. Now, I look at next week when you have a inner squad practice with the Dolphins and then headed into a preseason game. Then at that point, if we're still talking, now I'm thinking this is news. Because I have a feeling whoever they decide to start in that preseason game, that's who they intend to have be their week 1 starter. Could it change? Yes. Could the reasons, be countless reasons? Yes. But you do want to eventually say, these are our starters. And like you said, begin to understand who are your backups. I like your idea of it being Braxton with Trapillo backing him up. Maybe Amagaji moves inside. I don't know. But you want to answer those things sooner than later. But for now, it's noise. Talk to me next week when they now have inter squad practice.
So one thing I do want to note about this left tackle competition is that it seems like Karan Amagaji is holding his own in it, right? All the reports coming out aren't that it's Ozzie and Braxton, and then every now and again Karan gets some reps. It's like, no, Karan was in there with the first team, and you don't hear that he was getting blown up. So I think that that's a positive development. If I'm not saying I want to be the starter, a positive development, at least it being a functional part of this roster.
Or the Bears really need another edge rusher.
Or, yeah, maybe. So, all right, Halas holders, we have enjoyed the support that we have gotten, especially since the beginning of draft season to now, but just over our entire existence. But we are making another push to get to 1,500 subscribers. We are sitting at about 1,280 right now, 1,285, somewhere in that, depending on when you're watching. And we would love to get to 1,500 subscribers, hopefully by week 1. And to do that, we're going to kick off a promotion. We got some great giveaways. It's going to be a Bears jersey of your choice. We also have a Foco bobblehead to give away. And we also have some sweet Halas Huddle merch, Halas Huddle t-shirt. So what we'll be doing is you can comment on any video between now and when we get to 1,500 subscribers. Every video you comment on will be one entry into the giveaway. First prize will be that jersey. Second prize will be that bobblehead. Third prize will be the t-shirt. Of course, if you win first prize, you're ahead of a bobblehead, whatever. We'll deal with that then. But let's go, Halas Huddlers. We love the support. Let's see you support the channel. We would love to get there by the season.
Yeah, hey, Bears are on the rise. We want to be on the rise here on the Halas Huddle. So, as Bob said, comment on every video, but also share this with your friends. Share this with other Bears fans. That's how it will grow. Your chances of winning improve, and so do theirs.
Absolutely. All right, so speaking of improving chances of winning, Tuesday was a hard-hitting day at training camp. And all the reports were it went well, nobody got hurt, but also that this is the first time that they remember seeing a real hard-hit live session in training camp. And, maybe going back to 2018 was the last time they did it. So news or noise, live hitting in training camp will have a positive impact on the season for the Bears.
I'm going to go news. I'll be honest with you, man. I do love football and I love the Chicago Bears, but like the fact that it's such a violent game is somewhat kind of painful for me sometimes as a fan. But that's a fact, and you have to have your team ready for it. I mean, Colston Loveland's one of the guys that you might think you're out there trying to protect by saying, hey, let's go, 75%. And he went down, I guess, hard on a particular play and said, I needed that. I needed to feel what it's like to fall on that shoulder, and it felt great. These guys are a little nuts to do this as a job, I think. But you don't do your team favors by, going 80%, and then the first time they're seeing this real live reps is when preseason game number 1 happens and they get whooped. Now, that being said, another reason this might be a good idea is, like you said, it hasn't happened in a while. The Bears haven't had a good track record in a while, so I like the move. I'm going to say this is news.
So I'm going to go a little bit of noise. This sounds like something that people are excited about, and I understand why they're excited about it, but I really don't necessarily know if it does matter. Now, this is something that the Lions have been doing the last 4 years during their kind of ascension from absolute garbage to where they're at now. Then maybe there's some merit to it, but do the Chiefs have live tackling in their camp, right? Do the Ravens and Eagles, do they have a lot of live tackling? Like, if live tackling was a clear link between doing in training camp and success, I feel like everyone would do it all the time, right? So it's just one of those things. I understand that, it sounds good. I understand the logic behind getting used to the hitting now, and, how can you actually tackle someone in a game if you don't tackle in practice? I get all that. I just feel like it's more noise, more narrative than actual fact.
Well, I want to push back a little bit on something you said and cite what Dennis Allen said in his press conference. But he kind of said, and it's a catch-all answer, but it depends on where you're at as a team. Are you a veteran team like the Chiefs? Are you a younger team? Are you just coming in, building a new offense and building a new defense? He said for this team, this organization, right now where they're at, it was the right thing. And he sounds like he's more the guy who likes it no matter what. But I don't think the Eagles need to do that. They were playing well into February, and we're bringing back a lot of people from a Super Bowl champion. So I do think in the Bears situation, it's a little different than comparing them to those other teams. But hey, maybe we'll be compared to those teams a few years from now, and we can have a different conversation.
That's a great counter. Great counter. Now, I did lead with the Lions, though. I led with the Lions, but good point. Good point.
Oh, my bad. So you got me there, Bob. You got me. One other thing that came out with Dennis Allen is that there's been a lot of competition in the cornerback room. Now we know Jaylon Johnson has been out, and therefore Nahshon Wright has been getting a lot of reps and apparently looking very good. But there's competition all throughout that room. And I'm just going to ask you, Bob, news or noise? The depth of the cornerback room has made it so that there is no true way to predict who may make this roster and what the depth chart will look like in week 1.
So I'm going news on this one, and I think, well, maybe we'll agree, maybe we won't, but I think that conventional wisdom was that, this cornerback room was just going to be Jaylon Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Terrell Smith, Josh Blackwell, Zay Frazier, and, maybe one more special teams type guy. But, other than Jaylon Johnson, who hasn't even played yet, it seems like no one else's spot on the depth chart is clear. Now, I don't expect Tyreek Stevenson to necessarily get cut, but I don't think he's necessarily a shoo-in for number 2. Dennis Allen said specifically as much, that number 2 is a wide open competition. And it's not between Tyreek Stevenson and Terrell Smith. It is with I was on a roll, and then I tried to look for the name. If I didn't look for the name, then I would have been fine. Nasheem Wright, right?
He's taking over for Jalen.
Yeah, he's been playing a lot for Jalen, but it seems like his reps are going so well that he's probably in contention for the number 2 spot, aside for Jalen when he gets back, right? And then there's the other name that has been popping up.
McLeod? Is it McLeod?
McLeod, I believe. He's not even, Nick McLeod, who got some love from Dennis Allen even in the press conference. And then, some of the CHGO guys who go every day, they've been commenting on McLeod standing out too. And I just don't hear Terrell Smith's name. I don't hear Josh Blackwell's name. So it's not just about who's going to be cornerback number 2. Now, someone you thought that might be competing for number 2 and Terrell Smith might be cut. So it's just, I think it's wide open, and I'm really intrigued to see what this depth chart's going to look like come week 1.
Bob, man, I think we've done perfect up to this point, finding the counter, but I also have to go news here. It's good that there's this much competition. And what we have to remember, we cannot forget, is the coaching staff has been completely overturned, with honestly one major exception maybe being Richard Hightower. And so those back end spots that likely could go to like special teamers, he might have a little say in. But none of the guys on the roster were these coaches' guys. I mean, Jalen gets that respect because he's got the all-pro, behind his name. He's not out there to prove it, and yet they say they're not giving spots. I'm okay with that. But like you said, 2 through 5 is up in the air. With Tyreek Stevenson, I mean, he's the big name that people want to highlight, and obviously he stood out for very negative reasons last season. You have invested draft capital in him. But does Ben Johnson feel that? Does Dennis Allen feel that? They just want to win. That's what they want. And so it's wide open, which is good because now preseason games will have a lot to watch. Joint practices will have a lot to watch, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and just the 2 names I butchered that I wanted to make a point on, but butchered anyway, were Nashawn Wright and Nick McLeod. Those are the 2 guys who seem to be showing out in practice right now. So I got them. And then, speaking of showing out in practice, Colston Loveland has kind of just seemed to make immediate impact as soon as he got on the field, looked really good in padded practices. Meanwhile, Luther Burden took a while to get on the field, and then there was some pre-snap penalty issues with him, and it was kind of an ugly start. So news or noise, we should expect this hierarchy to last into the season. Loveland should well outproduce Burden all year.
I'm going to say noise. Honestly, I hope they both do very well. And Loveland could very well outperform Burden for a different reason, and that being that it was Ben Johnson's first pick. I mean, it was the number 10 pick. It was the priority. We as fanalists maybe didn't see it coming, but the Bears were clearly locked in on him and saw a lot in his potential. So the fact that Loveland's arrow is going up is great, but I don't think that tying it to Burden is the right thing to do. Whatever soft tissue we thought that meant, it can mean a whole lot more. Apparently, he was out for quite some time. When he comes back and makes a small mistake, it's going to get called out. And those are the types of mistakes that maybe being out there would have prevented. But he's out there now. I don't think this early in training camp is any reason to think that his rookie season is in jeopardy. He might explode on the scene too. The Bears hopefully are going to have so many weapons that nobody can truly stand out. But I hope both these guys do. And it's too early to say that, so I'm going to go noise.
So this question is kind of written a little clunky. Admittedly, my fault there. So as way as the question's written, will Loveland outproduce Burden all season? I'm going to say news there. Like, I expect Colston Loveland to be an 800 to 900 yard receiver with 6, 7, 8 touchdowns. I just expect that. I think when you see chemistry with the quarterback almost immediately, that's real, and that's something that will carry over into the season. So I'm really not worried about Loveland's production, but I do think the vibe of this question might have been different had we done this yesterday. or right after the Monday's practice when he had those pre-snap procedures, but Burden's made a couple plays in practice. So I think it's really easy to be like, oh, I don't like this guy. He rubs me the wrong way in the draft, and then he got hurt, and the rumors are he's not fighting to come back, and he comes back to practice, and he's not up to speed. He's in the wrong spot when all he had to do was just know where you're supposed to be because he didn't do anything else. Like I get the negative opinion, and then he catches a touchdown pass, and then he makes a crazy acrobatic catch on the sideline. It might have been out of bounds, right? If you're a playmaker and you make plays, a lot of other things can be forgiven. And we also know Ben Johnson will not tolerate the pre-snap stuff. So if Luther Burden wants to be a playmaker, he better figure that stuff out. And I think that he's got to have at least enough sense to do that. So spirit of the question, will Loveland outproduce Burden? Yes. Will Burden still make some plays for the Bears this year that make a difference? I say absolutely yes, he will.
Love it. So like this episode shows, it's an exciting time for the Chicago Bears. It's an exciting time for the Halas Huddle. Please comment, like, subscribe, talk to others who are Bears fans so that they can do the same. We're headed for 1,500 subscribers, and you can win some prizes. Until then, bear down, claws up.
Ready, break.